Hello, everybody, and Merry Christmas. This is dr.Feravich with Healthy Mind, Body, Spirit. And isn't that a beautiful, beautiful Christmas song called God is With Us from Casting Crowns? And the album is Peace on Earth. And it's on YouTube, and I'm playing it from YouTube, and I can play it on YouTube. And that was just how I wanted to introduce myself with that beautiful song. And Merry Christmas. And I am just getting ready here. And I don't have my notes right in front of me, and I'm looking for them right now. And I'm probably going to have to step away and get my glasses and get my notes. But I know that the first note that I had here for spending Christmas alone. So that's our topic today. What should we do if we have to spend Christmas alone? Let me start with point number one about what you might want to think about if you are spending Christmas time alone. And that is, first of all, just not worrying about a schedule, right? Don't worry about a schedule. And then the next thing I'm going to tell you is plan, okay? But don't worry about your schedule. So I got here close to on time, which is way better than I usually do. And so what I thought I would do here, though, is to show you that even when you are spending Christmas time alone, you can have some wonderful things that are going on for you, especially if you planned for it. You don't have to keep a schedule. This morning, I got up and I decided to shower. And even though I showered, I don't think my hair looks all that great. And I wish it would look a little bit better for you there. That always helps, but it'll slip back down. And, I debated if I'm going to just, roll out of bed in my own time and not worry about a shower and come to you in my pajamas and with my coffee in my hand. And I decided not to do that. I decided that I wanted to get up and look nice for you for Christmas. And because I always get up, shower, and wear something that is holiday-ish on Christmas, no matter where I'm going. I want to make sure that I'm in something sparkly and Christmassy. And I think that that's one way that when we are spending holidays alone, that we can just really enjoy it. Do something. Think about those things that are small things that are special for yourself. Right? Okay, so one of the things for me is I like to dress up. So if you're a girl, maybe you like to play dress up when you were little. You might have even liked to play dress up when you were a boy. I know my son did. And and in fact, I had a whole costume box for him is what I did. So think about those little things that gave you joy to help you plan for your day, especially if you're going to be alone. The very first holiday that I was alone was Thanksgiving, and that was the year that my husband passed away. And so it really was not a very good time to be alone on a holiday. And I tested positive for COVID on Thanksgiving Day and retested because I didn't have any symptoms. I have more symptoms right now of a cold, which again kicks in your immunity, and then you're more prepared for different flus and viruses down the line. So getting those colds, as I said in a couple of videos ago, shouldn't scare you. You should be okay with getting these colds. Let your body do what it's supposed to do, and then it prepares your immune system for things down the line. But Thanksgiving, I tested positive for COVID, and then I retested on Thanksgiving Day, and I ended up testing negative. And so I knew I was negative, but I couldn't go on Thanksgiving because I didn't find out until Thanksgiving Day that I actually was negative, and so I didn't go. And so that was the first holiday season that I didn't spend with family. And I thought that I was going to end up feeling really bad and feeling really depressed about that day. And in fact, I ended up enjoying it so much, the not being stressed about planning meals and getting family together and managing my time and managing all those things. I had no stress about what I was going to cook, what I wanted to eat, anything, or whether I wanted to eat or not, right? So sometimes planning is likely necessary. It doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to follow a strict schedule, right? That doesn't mean we're going to follow a strict schedule, but planning is likely necessary. The most stressful thing about the holidays for me has always been trying to meet certain timelines, right? I'm working, I have to have grades in at a certain time, then I have to have all my shopping done by a certain time. If I'm mailing cards, I had to have the cards out by a certain time. I had to have the packages all wrapped by a certain time. We had to leave here for the family at a certain time to get there. We had church at a certain time. We had dinner afterwards at a certain time. And everything was about a certain time, right? And so one of the things I really like to take advantage of when I am not following the rules, right, is I don't want to also have to worry about time management. So the way I don't worry about time management is, number one, I figure out ways to take care of myself. That's part of taking care of myself. But number two, I plan for it as well. Okay? So plan for something fun to do on that day. Fun for you, right? It doesn't have to be fun and active. But remember, I'm always the person that says that the more engaged you are in whatever you're doing, the more benefits you're going to be getting. You're going to be stirring up those reward chemicals in your brain, dopamine, serotonin, and this also gets your adrenaline going if you are physically active as well. So when you make a plan, remember what I'm saying. I'm always saying the plan that you need to be making is a plan that engages you. But you know what? I'm not going to be so engaged today, right? Today is a day I'm planning to not be so engaged. I don't want to be so engaged right now because I have the pressures of Christmas, right? The pressures of Christmas and all the planning that goes with it. So today, Christmas Day, I decided to not be so engaged. I also usually make a plan to go to church on Christmas Day as well as other times I make a plan. I'm telling you that I am a little bit concerned with my church pastor because he has not contacted me through all of these hard times, despite my continued request. And so it's not that I'm eliminating the Christmas spirit. And that's another thing I feel like we have to remember is when we are preparing for this and when we are really doing things for ourselves, we still have to remember this is a special day and we will not get the most out of this day if we treat it like every other day. So it's a special day. And any other day I can treat myself or be good to myself. Any other day I can stay in my pajamas. Any other day I can make myself a delicious cup of coffee. That is not what makes this day special. What makes this day special is because we are celebrating the birth of the Christ child. That's what makes it special. So all of this, in my mind, to make it a really healthy day. This day is a spiritual day. So in order for us to make this day, Christmas Day, a healthy day, it has to be a spiritual day as well. So take care of yourself, make a plan to take care of yourself, but also be sure that in your plan, you are giving a nod to the specialty, is the word I'm thinking of, the uniqueness, the reverence, the spirituality of this particular day. If you aren't a person who is ever focused on the spirituality and the spiritual rewards of this day, that might be something that you do for yourself, because there are some other rewards beneath the surface that are wonderful, healthy rewards for your mind and your body because you're paying attention to your spirit. So make sure that you're doing that. Now, some of the things that I did was I wrote down, well, what are things that you can plan for, right? Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm planning for, and I've already showed you some of the crafts that I did. So what I've been doing in my downtime is I've been doing some crafts. And remember, lots of people have said to me, oh, I'm not artsy. Crafting is not really being an artist at all. Although you can. I don't dismiss it as being somebody who has no, skill in art. But remember, being crafty is also, using your mind in crafty ways by using things that you have available, right? Okay, so I want to show you some of the other things that I've been doing for crafts because I just want to give a head nod to all the DIYs that are out there, and find your DIY and find your connect, and then add whatever you want to it. So some of the things you might want to prepare, and I'm prepared to do some of these things for the rest of the day as well. So just sharing some things. So you already saw, if you didn't, check out my last video that I had on something or other. It wasn't on mysteries, but I can't remember what it was on. So I showed you that I did those ornaments for my family, right? Well, I've been doing some other things too. I think I told you that I had, like, I've probably got 30 of these cylinder vases, right? And so I didn't know what to do with them because I had them for my son's wedding, and they didn't want them. So I was stuck with these vases. And what I did was I went to YouTube videos and I looked at the DIYs for specifically glass cylinders. And look at the ideas that they came up with for me. So I'm only showing you a couple, that's all, because this is what it's not about the DIY. But inside here, what I have is, you can see little ornaments that I've had, so that I've used up, that I've had over the years, depending on what color my tree was, right? And here are the empty ornaments, right? So you just buy the clear ornaments is all you do, and there's all kinds of different ideas on TV on how to decorate these clear ornaments. You can see all I did was I just stuck snowflakes on this clear ornament. And then I put them in the cylinders and, have some fake snow. I want to just show you a couple of them. Here's another one. So just all I did was use blue ornaments. I might have shown you this. And then I got from the dollar store these sticky things, right? So they look like they're stones. And that's all I did with this. So put my blue ornaments in here. And there's lots of these little fillers that you can get too at the dollar store. So you decide on your fillers and you put those in between, and a variety of ornament sizes. I pulled one more down here that I didn't want to pull the clear ornaments out. You can see how pretty this one is too. And you can see here, so what the clear ornaments, all I did, I had a red little thing, I had a gold little thing, gold little tinsel, and I had a green and red little planter, and put those in those clear ornaments. I'll show you something else. So from DIY, I'm going to turn these into candles. So I've had these for a very long time in my garage. And so I looked online, and here are the $1.25 dollar store candles. And I'm going to melt them down. I'm going to spray paint this and put some glue Guns N' Roses, calls it swag, right? I might have even gotten this idea from her. Put some swag on there, and then I'm going to have some Christmas candles for my family. I can't believe that I completely forgot to show you two other projects that I've been doing. And so I'm going to go ahead and edit this into the video. And these are from DIY stations. This is from DIY Big Boom. And you could see how easy this was to make, right? And what it's made out of. But I just love this. So these are 1/8 inch dowels that I got from the dollar store, but they were actually cheaper at Joann's, if you can believe that. I got more of them, and they were for the price, they were much better price than at the dollar store. Yeah, and just you could see punched a hole here in them, and then and this is just some twine that I got from there as well. And I'm going to put this in one of the vases as well. So I'll build it up the bottom of the vase, and this will go in one of the vases. But you could make these, and you could put them, anywhere. You could put these look at that. Look at how beautiful that would be as a decoration in your tree even. So that was easy peasy to make. And then the last thing I made, so again, being crafty is about being crafty, right? So thinking about reusing and how to reuse. So these were boxes that I got these bottles in. Now, I also want to tell you a little bit about these bottles. So I drink water every day, and the only way I can drink water every day, because I never used to drink any water, I would go months without drinking water, is if I have lemon and a little bit of stevia in there. So a little bit of a sweetener. It's just a little bit like a lemonade for me every day. Lemon water is good for you, right? It actually kicks in alkaline as well. So there's acidity in fruit, but acidity kicks in alkaline is what it does. Think about these alkaline and acidity balances in your stomach, because those are related to cancer. I'll be talking more about that as well. But I want to drink my water out of glass bottles. And one of the problems I think with our illnesses is we go back to the basics, which is sanitation and penicillin. Where was our penicillin for the virus? I understand a virus penicillin isn't used for that, but there were bacteria in people's lungs. Where was the penicillin? Where was the antibiotic? Where was the penicillin? And these are wide mouth bottles. So I got these from Berkey. They were six for, I think I walked out the door for $40, something like that. And wide mouth, so they're easy to clean. Those small mouth bottles are impossible. And when you're talking about sanitation, that can be a lot of bacteria that collects up in here. So I like to use the glass bottles. And they came in these boxes here, is what they did. And so I repurposed these cute little boxes, and you can see crafting is nowhere near perfect, right? I bought a bunch of these, and this is what I covered up the ornaments with, and all kinds of things that I found at Joann's, and they also had these at the dollar store as well. So just all I did, glue it onto the box, use an X-Acto knife in order to cut that, and look what I did, filled it with popcorn. They had these popcorn bags at the dollar store as well. Who could believe that? I couldn't believe it. So here is what I made and glued that on, right? And it's cute, and my family loves popcorn. So that was another gift idea. So those are some ideas. So planning. Some other things that you might want to plan. I mean, I wrote down some ideas, but so I'm a craft person, and that's what I like to do. And I think that producing something always helps us feel better. I was talking to somebody just yesterday when I was in the dollar store, and talking about how in my era, we stopped funding for all kinds of programs in our school, including funding for art, including funding for gym, and including funding for sports. It used to be that you used to go to school and they would pay for everything. You might have to buy some outfit or something like that, but basically it was all funded through the school. We don't have that anymore. We are paying a lot of money in order for our kids to play sports. And I think about the funding that we've taken away from our schools for these programs, and how much we may be lacking in creativity as a consequence of this, right? I mean, right now we've got lots of needs and not a lot of innovation. And it seems to me that with technology, we should already have, especially in our health, why don't we have ways to have, better options for our teeth than to be so invasive that you have to build up my jaw in order to put in an implant for my tooth? That seems so extraordinarily barbaric. Why are we still cutting people in half and splitting their sternum for open heart surgery? Where is our ingenuity? And just look around for all kinds of things that we need. Where is, and should have by now in this day and age with technology, where is our ingenuity? One of the things, so listen to Christmas music. That helps you get in the spirit, and it puts you in a better mood, right? Don't listen to Christmas music that's going to make you ruminate. But ruminating may be something that you are, really talented at. And no matter what music is playing, maybe you fall into rumination. And so maybe that's something that you want to think about. How can you ruminate less, right? If you are feeling sorry for yourself, if you are feeling sad and maybe kind of weepy, what might help you? Well, you know what? Sometimes getting it all out is helpful. During some of these hard times that I was saying, and even being alone, I have not stopped myself from crying, openly crying. It's not that I'm trying to avoid my sad emotions. That's not the case, and that's also likely not healthy, because they may catch up. They will catch up with us, and they likely will catch up with us at the most inopportune times. And so what we want to do is we want to manage our emotions and learn how to build a habit of managing our emotions so that they don't overwhelm us, and in a way that we then have control over those emotions, right? We decide when we're going to let it all out and under what conditions, and making sure that we feel safe under those conditions, right? So crying, letting it all out during these times, that's not a bad thing. But as I've said so many times about rumination, that is not healthy at all. Rumination is going over negative thoughts again and again and again. That's not healthy. And so when I say it's okay to let it all out, and this is something that I want you to think about. How do you do that? How do you do that when you let it all out? Think about in your mind, what is it that you do? Okay? There have been a few times over this past few months that I've let it out, and I've even in some ways let it out more publicly than others, like even on YouTube, right? Even on YouTube, I've let things out more publicly than other times. But in letting it out, my body and my behavior and my mind is not about ruminating. It's not about going over the negative events. And in particular, count what we call counterfactual thinking. That is trying to have that outcome turn out differently in our minds. Then we get wrapped up in fantasies, is what we end up doing. Okay. So think about how you let it out. I'm not saying this Christmas, if you are alone and you are sad, that you are supposed to be busying yourself with things that push those sad thoughts out of your mind. What I'm saying is you're supposed to plan for them, is what you're supposed to do. Prepare for them. So one of the ways that I let it all out, one of the times actually this past summer, I won't, get into all the details because it is personal, right? But what I noticed was that I needed to cry. I needed to cry. There are so many sad things that are going on. And sometimes I realize, just like you do, that this planet just isn't necessarily the most pleasant place to be. We all experience trauma and we all experience great loss. And in the last few years, that has really been magnified. So you are going to want to, and I've sobbed. There are times where there is no other word for it, but I have sobbed. And we need space to do that. So how do we do that? And I'm going to tell you, sometimes it's not private. Sometimes sobbing doesn't always have to be private, right? I'm not saying that you should be throwing yourself around so everyone notices. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that some people do have to understand the damage that they've done to one another. And sometimes that makes us sob. It makes us cry so hard that we are sobbing. But in doing that, it shouldn't be about an anger. If there's anger in there, sobbing is great sadness. There's really nothing unhealthy about great sadness, actually. There are plenty, we should. It's very healthy to be sad when we lose something and we lose somebody. That builds this kind of motivation and diligence to not lose that again, whatever that takes, right? So sadness is not unhealthy. But depression, rumination is. Okay? So letting people see that what you've done has made me really sad, that's not so unhealthy. Now, we have to think about that from a psychological perspective. What ends up happening to men in the presence of, in particular, women who cry? Their testosterone level goes down. This is scientifically demonstrated. Okay, well, if I'm a guy who's built on pride, I might not like being around a woman who cries. And that actually may be why men don't like and cannot, they say they can't take a woman crying. Why? It may be because it lowers their testosterone level. So that demasculates them, right?
Okay, it makes them feel less of a man because they're testosterone. So maybe that is a problem. But back to the sobbing. There are times where people knew I was sad, and again, it's not unhealthy, number one, and number two, other people may need to see that their behavior created that, right? But not in a way, if you are doing it in a way that's punishing, if you're doing it in a way for revenge, if you're doing it in a way that's under angry circumstances, that's not healthy. All right. So think about it this way. I think about crying to that point where you really are crying very hard. What I thought about it the last time that I was thinking about it for this. What is going on that's different, right? That makes it okay to sob, but not ruminate and not be so anxious that we get depressed. And it's the thoughts in our minds. What is going on in my mind when I'm sobbing about something that's so sad? You know what? The truth of the matter is, not a lot. What's going on is all in my heart. When I think about it, it's all in my heart. I am overwhelmed with sadness. I don't have to think about what I'm sad about in order to make those tears come, right? I don't have to think about it. So, what's involved in my mind when I'm that sad? Not a lot. So that's what I mean by letting it out. Maybe it's okay to let it out in a sobbing kind of way. I want you to analyze how you let it out. If you are angry, that is unhealthy. Okay. If you are letting it out through rumination, through vengeance, again, through violence or aggressive behavior, that's not healthy. But being sad over something that is saddening, right? The loss of something that's important to us. Being sad over something that is saddening, well, that's normal. That's normal, healthy behavior. So I'm not telling you to spend Christmas thinking about putting all of those sad things behind you in the past. And in fact, maybe this is a time where you put that day aside to really purge some of those emotions. Not ruminate, realize that they are there for healthy reasons. These major emotions that we have, as I always say, are the doors that we need to go through in order to be enlightened about whatever it is that's suppressing us, right? In our own selves, in our own emotions. It's the door we need to go through. Our emotions are the realization that we need to go through a door, that we need to be taken through a door that gets us past some of those negative feelings. Coming back. Okay, so some other ideas. Something I did was I bought some binge videos is what I did, okay? And so, and I'm hoping to share them with my sisters. One video, I'm going to tell you the binge videos that I bought because I'm so excited about them, and they haven't come in yet. So I have to put that aside. But if you planned ahead for this day, you could binge a video. So stay in your pajamas, get your delicious coffee. You don't have to do crafting like I'm going to do crafting. Maybe you want to binge, right? So what this is making a plan for something actually stimulates the reward neurochemical dopamine, and dopamine is a motivator. So make a plan for your day, and don't make a plan to sob. If that happens, that's okay, right? Don't make a plan for it. Don't purposefully put on music that's going to make you cry. But listen to Christmas music, or listen to that music that stimulates some emotion in you. And if you happen to cry, that's okay too. All right. So the video. So I said binging videos, right? I'm going to tell you the videos that I got because they're from the 70s is what they're from. And I'm so excited about them. So the first one I'm going to tell you about that most of you have heard about, but probably many of you have not seen, and that is the series Roots. I watched it on TV. My dad, it's not, he's from, so it's not anything that he would ever care to see or ever care to even empathize with. And he watched that whole series, and it was so good. It was really a good time for him to actually empathize with another race. It was good. Um, So Roots, and I'm very excited to see that because that was an extraordinary series, and it really does help us, I think, during this time, help see different sides of the roots of our hair, the roots of the United States here, right? I'm taking a look at it. The other video I got, which probably many of you have never heard of, it stars Peter Strauss and Nick Nolte, and I got the series Rich Man, Poor Man. So I'm not going to be able to binge it today because I didn't plan far enough in advance to be able to do that, right? And plus, on top of that, those I actually want to binge with my sisters. So at Rich Man, Poor Man, I want to binge with my sisters. So make a plan, and maybe that's what you want to do is you want to binge. And then also, when you're letting things out, another piece of advice that you might want to do, I think it's really special on special days in particular, because those are the times I go back to is right. I'll say it. Right. Write what's going on. Write your feelings. Write down to somebody. I don't journal a lot, just journal, right? But I talk to people in my head a lot, right? So I don't necessarily say it out loud. And in this day and age, in these relationships, and how we have to be careful about everything that we say, there's a lot of things we probably can't say to some people, right? So I write a lot of things out that way. But this is the thing, and I've also told my students this about writing. The magic of writing is not, part of it is purging, right? Part of it is purging, especially if if you're writing in a healthy way, which again is, it's not healthy to be writing angry thoughts down. It's not healthy. It's not good for you. What if somebody finds that? Whatever. I'm in a predicament, as some of you might know, where people are looking at. I had all of my stuff stolen. So if I wrote angry things, somebody might, they might really be like, what the heck is her issue? And I don't write things out of anger. I do write a lot out of sadness, though. I do write a lot out of sadness. So the benefit is, again, as you're writing, there's a benefit, but the bigger benefit is this. When I went back after writing and journaling to a single person, that I don't know why I'm still here at Christmas alone, but whatever, and journaling to that single person, I had 8 years of history. I had 8 years of history because I journaled for 8 years. So that's what I'm saying on this person, right? So somebody that I cared deeply for. So 8 years of journaling about this person, and so much history to go back and look at, so much development, so much maturity, so many different ways to be able to say, that was a good choice, that wasn't a good choice. If what you're journaling is all hatred and anger and revenge, none of it, when you go back and look at it historically, is going to benefit you at all. It probably will only renew those feelings of anger, right? But when you are journaling in a healthy way, purging your sadness or sift through your thoughts a little bit better, right? If you're trying to sift through your thoughts a little bit better, those things are great. Why would I have made this, and I'm saying this in journaling, right? In journaling. Why would I have made this choice? What made me come to make this choice? I know this about you, and I know this about me, right? That kind of purging cognitively can be very healthy, and it can be very healthy later on when you're rereading those notes, when you're reflecting on it. It's also good if you ever wanted to write. If you ever wanted to write ever, having those notes, it's just like detailed history for you, right? So as a psychologist, and as a teacher, I am always looking for the details of an event that may have been life-changing, or at least, made me think, right? I want the details of that. When you are writing and when you are journaling, that gives you the details. All right, so dopamine in the planning, right? There's lots of regulation in serotonin in things like journal writing or even things like binging, because that can take us on this nice little emotional roller coaster. Serotonin is all about mood regulation. Are you breaking down to the point where you're uncontrollable? Are you staying focused on the scene that was 5 minutes ago that was so sad and you've lost the rest of the story in front of you, right? How are you regulating your emotions as different events come and affect you? For example, from a movie, from a film. How are you handling those different emotions? Okay. And so, planning stimulates dopamine. Experiencing and regulating our emotions helps integrate serotonin, so another reward neurochemical in our brain, right? So we're stimulating that. And the last thing I kind of wanted to focus on is this. What have I found leads to stress? What have I found leads to stress? Now, there are all kinds of things. We can break it out into details and say, oh, time management, I'm bad at time management, or I get anxious around other people, or I procrastinate. So we can think about all those kinds of behaviors that lead us to stress. And and I'm not saying those are wrong. Of course, those are right. But what I found is a bigger picture about what leads to stress, because all of us can have problems with time management, right? We can all have problems with time management when it comes Christmas time and we see that the holiday is, that I have to get all of these things done, cooking done by a certain time, wrapping done by a certain time, purchases done by a certain time. And then there's the stress of having all of those bills mount as well, right? So again, there are behaviors that lead to stress. Some of those are controllable. Some of those behaviors are not controllable. But in the end, the bottom line is what leads to stress. I'm gonna define it in two ways. First of all, I'm gonna define it. What leads to stress is missing the mark. No matter what the mark is, no matter where you set your bar, missing the mark is what leads to stress. Always, right? Because it's where you set your bar. If you are 2 hours late for Christmas dinner, that can cause a lot of people stress, especially a person who is punctual all the time. But a person who's typically 3 hours late for Christmas dinner and is only 2 hours late, that is not stressing that person. That person didn't miss their mark, right? That person didn't miss their mark. Missing the mark is the definition of sin. If I were to define sin, not me, just one definition, but one that's used consistently, is to miss the mark, to fall short. That is sinning. And so, what causes me stress? And I think that we can talk about this across the board. And if you think about it in terms of sinning, it makes it much easier to see where you're missing the mark. It's where you note that you are sinning, right? Sin is, a mortal thing. It's biblical, it's scriptural, it's taught in all kinds of life's lessons. Yes, we know that. But it still is very personal, right? There are things that are going to make me feel like a sinful creature that aren't going to make you necessarily feel like a sinful creature. Now, there's across the board things that are going to make us all feel like sinful creatures. And I paused there on purpose for a minute. One of the things I introduced this, I said, take care of yourself. First thing in the morning, wink, wink, take care of yourself, right? That's the very first thing I said. That is about perspective, right? That's about perspective. Taking care of yourself, right? First of all, perspective. how do I take care of myself, number one. And number two, when I do, is that in a sinful way, right? So take care of yourself, wink, wink, right? Love and sex in the 21st century. We need to take care of ourselves in a healthy way. That's my series, Love and Sex in the 21st Century. So check it out. We have to take care of ourselves, wink, wink, in a healthy way, no matter what. We should not be sinning. We shouldn't be sinning. So just a little small note, especially on Christmas. If you really want to enjoy your holiday, and if you really want to be able to enjoy your holiday all by yourself, try not to miss the mark. I know that the most stressful time in my life came when I was getting my divorce. Now I say I lost my husband. Go back to my videos and you can see, because I lost my husband who was in the house. But we were divorced, and the most stressful time I've ever had, even given these mysteries and everything that's going on in my life, the most stressful time I had was when I was divorcing. And why was that? Well, I came to the conclusion it was because I was sinning. I was sinning. And I'm not going to tell you all the ways I was missing the mark. It doesn't matter. You could say, well, Annette, you can divorce. Why is that sinning? Wasn't my sin. That wasn't my sin, right? The divorce itself, although scripturally I did question it, wasn't necessarily the sin. It wasn't where I fell short, right? But I was falling short in a lot of ways. I was falling short in all kinds of ways with my sons, with the divorce, with my ex, with my job, with my behavior, right? I was falling short in all kinds of ways. And the consequences of falling short is what creates the stress. The consequences of my misbehavior is what creates the stress. So that's the last thing that I wanted to say as far as giving you tips about how to spend the holidays alone, right? So do something for yourself, right? Don't keep a schedule, but make a plan so that you've got the dopamine and the serotonin. In the end, what you want to do at the end of your day is you want to savor your day. So the very last thing that you want to do at the end of the day is savor the day. What went right? And you might even want to write those things down. What went right today? What were 3 good things that happened today? We know that writing those things down, 3 good things that happened today at the end of your day, and listing the reasons why they happened, we absolutely know that increases happiness and decreases depression. Okay, so end your day with savoring. How do you savor your day? You list the great things that happen. You can savor your day in all kinds of ways. You can take a bubble bath with a glass of wine. I just purchased some, thanks to my friend, I'm not going to say it right, I won't get it right, Luxardo, maybe that's it, Luxardo, maraschino cherries. And I put those in, Kathy, I did that. I bought those cherries and I put them in my Cabernet last night. I don't drink a lot of wine. It was Christmas Eve and I was by myself. And so I bought a cab and I bought these delicious, Luxardo. I put them at the bottom so there's a treat. So find ways, those little luxuries that you can do to treat yourself, right? Make a plan for them when you are alone and get the spirit of the holiday in. It's a special day. It's Christmas Day, and Christmas Day means something far more than Santa Claus. Get the spirit of the holiday in, savor the day, and across the board, if you want to reduce stress, don't miss the mark. This is Dr. Annette Feravich with Healthy Mind, Body, Spirit. Merry Christmas to you and your family, and special blessings to all of you. Thanks to whoever joined me here too. So thanks for saying that, and Merry Christmas.